Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Andrew Stott, I'm the Emperor of Stomaria, and today we're continuing our series on how to start a micronation by discussing micronational sovereignty. Now, this is one of those topics which I feel like shouldn't need to be discussed, but for some reason I feel that I need to, especially for some of the newer members of the Micronational community who may not be as familiar with what a micronation actually is compared to what a lot of people think it is. So, pretty straightforward, a micronation is not a sovereign entity. It merely claims to be. And claiming to be sovereign does not make you sovereign. So all of the laws, the rules, the regulations of the respective macronation in which you reside, those are still applicable to you and to your micronation. I have heard and seen people suggest on, online, Reddit, Facebook, or whatever, that because they are a micronation, the laws of the macronation in which they are based no longer applies to them. It's no longer applicable to them in their micronation. And this is a good way to get some fines, some court time, jail time potentially. It's a route that some micronations have gone down before, and it always leads the same way. And that is failure. It is, like I said, it's either fines or being dragged through the court or jailed or being made homeless, being forced to sell your property. All of these things have happened to micronations who thought that they and their micronation were above the law. And, there might be hundreds, if not thousands of examples of this, not all of them fully documented and known about, but there is a handful of examples that come to mind immediately. So you have, of course, the Hutt River province is probably the most obvious and well-known example. For the past 50 years, they've been a micronation that was set up because of wheat quotas, if I remember correctly, some dispute with the government anyway, so they set up a micronation, and they refused to pay taxes to the Australian government for the last 50 years, as I understand it. And now the chickens have come home to roost. They're forced to sell the property in order to pay their millions of dollars worth of outstanding debt to the Australian government. Another example that comes to mind, a bit closer to home, is the Kingdom of Everland, which I think this was a planning dispute. I think they were trying to build a dwelling on a particular plot, and they didn't have planning permission to do so. It was either a protected area, or it was an area of significant historical significance. But again, he dragged through the court. As far as I was aware, he was made homeless for a while. I think that has been settled now. That issue has been resolved. But again, a failure. And then you have Liberland, another very well-known micronation, whose leader, their president, he was arrested. I think he might have been fined for trespassing on the territory that he claims, or that Liberland claims as their own. So the list just goes on, and these are some of the better known micronations, as well as some of the ones closer to home. Like I said, there will be dozens, hundreds, even thousands of examples of micronations that go down this same route, and it's like bashing your head against a brick wall. I mean, it really is just a road to nowhere. So it begs the question, what is a micronation? What is the best you can achieve? And the answer to that is very much dependent on the individual concerned, because micronations are not all the same. They're not all striving for the same things. Some are trying to make a political point, be it about environmentalism or human rights or gay rights or whatever it may be. And then there are others like the Empire of Stomaria, where we are trying to actively build a community around shared values and objectives, and striving for a sort of de facto independence. So that is to say, to reduce reliance on and contributions to the macronation that we're a part of through legal means. And this might be through, growing your own food, producing your own energy, supplying your own water, through using various tax avoidance schemes. I think avoidance is the legal one. I think evasion is the illegal one. Don't quote me on that, but we're doing it the legal one, the legal way. But all these ways sort of add up into to a point where if you are able to build a real world community and you have all of these things in place, you almost become a de facto independent country, an independent nation. And I think that is really the best a micronation is ever likely to achieve, bar some apocalyptic event, which I think quite a few micronationalists seem to pray and hope for sometimes, which is a bit weird to me, but to each their own. But I think as far as micronations go, I think that is as far as a micronation can go from our perspective. The kind of micronation that we are, that is about as far as you can go. And I'd argue that you don't actually need sovereignty or recognition from the macronation in which you are based in order to function properly, in order to be able to, promote the values and accomplish the objectives that you've set yourself. Unless you're in a nation that is quite totalitarian in nature, I imagine that a lot of the things that you want to accomplish can be accomplished within your macronation, so long as you follow the guidance, the rules, the laws, the regulations that are in place. It might be a slower process, it might be a bit more of a grind, but I promise you it'll be a lot more rewarding and a bit more of a relief once you've gone down that route and you realise your progress is not going to be hindered. You realise that what you've built up is not going to get torn down because you've done it by the book. That is how you build a successful micronation. You work within the confines of the law. If you don't work within the confines of the law, you will fail. Sooner or later, you will fail. And for those who say they are sovereign because they are they're undertaking activities which are legal in their micronation, but illegal in their macronation, and the reason they're getting away with that is because they haven't yet found out, that is not sovereignty. You are just committing, an illegal or criminal act. That is it. And once you get found out about these activities that you are taking part in, then you'll go the same way as everyone else that, takes part in those sorts of activities. You will be fined. You'll be dragged through the courts. You will be jailed. I mean, it will happen. So if you are taking part in activities which are illegal in your macronation, purely because you think that the laws of the land no longer apply to you, I would strongly urge you to reconsider your position, because you will be in some very uncomfortable territory sooner rather than later, I imagine. So if you enjoyed that video, please feel free to give it a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll catch you in the next one.